Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Town of Sunnyvale, to tonight's council meeting. Please join me in standing for the invocation to be given by Council Member Finch.
Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to gather. We thank you for the freedoms you have bestowed upon us, Father. We thank you most of all for your Son. As we consider the town's business tonight, Father, I pray that you give us wisdom to look at each issue independently and to hear the voices of our community and make the best decisions so we can all move forward. Thank you so much for our town and everything you have blessed us with. In your Son's name, amen.
Amen. Please join me standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Please be seated. Once again, let me welcome council, staff, and members of the audience to tonight's council meeting. That's for council meeting for Monday, June 14th. For the record, all council members except Mr. Finch and Mr. Freeman and Mr. Clark are present. I fully anticipate Mr. Freeman to join us here shortly. Freeman is here. Good evening, Mr. Freeman. With the 6 of the 7 council members present, we have quorum. The first item is introduction. Let's introduce Briana Woods, part-time animal control. Good evening.
As our volunteer for
Yep.
the last 2.5 years, Miss Briana Woods, we finally recruited her to be our part-time animal control officer on the weekends.
That's awesome. Briana, welcome. Okay, thank you, Erica. Moving on to the next item, that's the announcement pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.0415. Mayor, council, or staff may report on various items. Council or mayor or staff, if you have an announcement, this is the time to make it. I have one announcement. I want to recognize the 100 women of Sunnyvale. They have recently contributed $15,000 in support of starting a community emergency response team, or CERT, in Sunnyvale. That's a lot of money. And that money will be utilized to set up, and our chief is working along with Susan and the regional CERT team in setting up a CERT in our town. In addition to that, the 100 women of Sunnyvale have also volunteered to participate in the training and also be members of the CERT team. So with that, I'm going to recognize and thank. I know there are some of them sitting in this room, some of them are calling in. Appreciate them for their support and continued care and support they give for the town of Sunnyvale. With that, council, are there any other announcements? Susan?
Yes, sir. Just 2 things. One is just a reminder of Sunnyfest, July 2nd. It's going to be a lot of fun, live music, fireworks, vendors, food. It's going to be a great party. So we hope everyone will come out. And then secondly, on CERT, I just want to remind you that we do have training in Sunnyvale scheduled towards the end of July. And so if you just look on our website, at the bottom of the page, it'll have a link for Newsflash. If you click on that, you'll find the registration link in our Newsflash. And then the final thing is, it's not on your agenda under introductions just because of the timing. But I did want to, because she will be participating tonight, I want to introduce you all to our new finance director, Sherry Haynes. Sherry has over 15 years of experience in management, finance, accounting, and auditing. For the last 8 years, she has been with the city of Mesquite as their manager of accounting. Prior to that, she was the finance director at the city of Lancaster, and a lot of other great experience, including a master of accounting from Nova Southeastern University, and a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Florida Atlantic University. She's also certified in CGFO, which is really important in the government world. So we're really excited to have her here, and I know Phyllis is even more excited. But I really want to thank Phyllis and Gretchen. I mean, they have stepped up in ways you can't even imagine to be entering the budget season and just keeping everything running. So we're very thankful to them, but also really want to welcome Sherry. So thank you.
So welcome, Sherry. Okay, that time is the public forum. This is the time members of the audience may come forward and speak to the council on any items other than items on the agenda or legal or personal matters. If anyone would like to come forward and speak to the council, you may do so at this time. If you are joining us via Zoom, you may raise your hand. No one is coming forward from the chamber. Erica, anyone raising their hand? No hands raised. I'm going to close the public forum. Before I move on to the next item, I know some of you are here not only to participate and also maybe comment on some of the agenda items. If you are planning to participate or express your opinion for or against or speak in public, I'm going to ask that you fill in one of these forms. There are plenty of copies of this right outside the door. This talks about your name, your address, and the topic you want to talk. The reason is we use this for keeping records of who attended the meeting. That became a public record for our meeting minutes. So if you are going to speak tonight, I'm going to ask you to fill this up and turn it over to Rachel Ramsey. She's the town secretary, and she will use that information to call upon you when the time comes. With that, moving on to consent agenda items. Council, we have 4 items on the consent agenda. Item number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Would anyone like to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? Yes, Ms. Ramsey, thank you.
Mayor and Council, just a note that on number 5 in your consent agenda, the insert in there has more red lines than you're actually approving. Some of those red lines were approved prior. The only thing that you're approving in this resolution tonight is under section 5.12, which is automated information systems, which takes the buying authority for computers away from me and gives it to IT now that we have IT.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey. Okay, no one like to remove any of the items to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 2, 3, 4, and 5 as presented?
Mayor, make a motion to approve items 2, 3, 4, 5 as presented. Second.
Motion made by Allen, second by Mr. Freeman to approve consent agenda items 2, 3, 4, and 5. All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Mr. Clark is absent. Moving on to item number 6, hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 21-12, granting a special use designation for an accessory dwelling unit on the property zoned single family located generally at 102 North Haskell Road. W. Charles?
Yes, sir. Good
Good evening,
evening,
sir.
Council. The property at 102 North Pascal Road is 1.32 acres and is zoned a single family 1. The owner of the property is requesting approval of a special use designation to construct an accessory dwelling unit. The accessory dwelling unit would be 1 story and constructed behind the primary house and would total 4,087 square feet. The accessory dwelling unit complies with all UDO requirements for accessory dwelling units, except for the UDO requirement of the 2-acre minimum lot size. I mentioned earlier that this lot is 1.32 acres, so it doesn't meet the 2-acre minimum lot size. However, in December, the property owner requested and the Board of Adjustment approved a variance waiving the requirement for the 2 acres. Therefore, that's not a consideration that you can, that's not something you can consider as you deliberate this item tonight. But it does comply with all of the other requirements of the UDO. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this request at their meeting on May 19th, and they recommend it for approval subject to no conditions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goff. Let me open up for public comments. If anyone from the members of the audience would like to come forward and speak to the council on item number 6, you may come forward. If you are joining us via Zoom, you may raise your hand. No one is coming forward from the chamber. Erica, anyone raising their hand?
No hands raised.
No hands raised. We're going to close public comments on item number 6. Council, are there any questions or discussions on item number 6? If there are none, I call for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item number 6 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Allen to approve agenda item 6 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Freeman. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? If none, all in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Mr. Clark is absent. Council and members of the audience, before we tell you what, let me start the item number 7, then I'll make a statement. Item number 7, hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 21-13, changing the zoning on one property totaling 61.5 acres, located generally at 3134 North Bellland Road, from local retail to a planned development allowing for retail, sports, entertainment, residential uses. Mr. Charles?
Yes, sir. So the request is for the property located at the southeast corner of Beltline Road and Town East Boulevard. It's approximately 61 acres of mostly vacant land, except for a 9-hole golf course and driving range at the southern end of the property. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from local retail to a planned development that would allow for retail, commercial, sports, entertainment, as well as age-restricted housing. The planned development would follow UDO requirements in most cases, but would include some special provisions that I'll go through. First, the planned development would subdivide the property into 3, what we're calling sub-districts, and that's reduced from the 4 that was originally proposed to P&Z based on community feedback. The first sub-district would be a local retail sub-district. This would apply to the entire property and would allow all uses that are currently allowed in the local retail district, the general zoning local retail district. Plus home improvement centers, so that's your Lowe's, your Home Depot, something like that, as well as automobile rental. The second sub-district is the sports and entertainment sub-district, which would be allowed on a maximum of 47 acres, which would be on the southern portion of the property. That sub-district would be used for a private sports complex with playfields for multiple types of sports, including 4 indoor courts for indoor sports. The facilities would be rented out to youth and adult sports leagues and also be used for tournament hosting. The hours of operation would be 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Friday and 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. The sports entertainment would carry forward all of the uses that are allowed in the local retail sub-district, as well as the playfields and stadiums, private children play areas, as well as a food truck court for up to 4 food trucks to help feed spectators at the sporting events. And then the final sub-district is the pocket neighborhood, which would be allowed on a maximum of 10 acres. That's less than what was presented to P&Z. That was another reduction made based on some community input received since the P&Z meeting. So it's 10 acres now. And it would be approved in one of two locations, either along Town East or at the southern end of the property if for some reason the sports and entertainment complex doesn't work out. In either location, it would be set back at least 350 feet from Beltline, preserving the Beltline frontage for retail uses. And the Pocket Neighborhood Subdistrict would be for age-restricted housing, which means 55 and up, meaning that at least one person in the household would have to be 55 years of age or older. These would feature houses that front a common open space, and they would have a maximum density of 5 units per acre. That's another thing that has changed since P&Z. It was 6 units per acre when it was presented to P&Z, but it's been reduced since then. The applicant has also agreed to have 10-foot side yards, as well as apply a maximum height of 1 story or 30 feet to the residential properties. Other than the dimensional requirements that are listed in the PD and detailed in the staff report, the residential development must meet all other development standards for residential development that are listed in the UDO. In addition to the subdistrict structure, the PD would also include some alternative development standards, and I'll go through those for building heights. The local retail and sports and entertainment subdistricts would have a maximum building height of 65 feet within 350 feet of Beltline, up to 70 feet once you get further away from Beltline. There would be a grid of mutual access easements with landscaping and sidewalks that would promote both vehicular connectivity throughout the development, but also pedestrian connectivity. From a buffering standpoint, there would be a 35-foot wide buffer along the southern edge of Town East Boulevard. That would include street trees every 20 feet to help buffer this development from the existing development on the north side of Town East. And then interior to the site, between the Pocket Neighborhood and the other districts, there would be a requirement of a 25-foot buffer with an 8-foot screening wall and trees as well to help buffer the future residents from the other development. From a parking standpoint, parking requirements would follow the UDO, but we're also adding provision that would allow property owners to submit a parking study that could justify an alternative parking requirement if it could be shown that for whatever operational reason a different parking ratio should apply, or allow properties under common ownership to share parking if it could be shown that there's different peak times for parking and things like that. Lighting would be allowed at the perimeter of the ball fields up to a height of 70 feet. And then there are a number of other minor requirements that are detailed in the staff report. In making a recommendation on a case like this, staff looks at the comprehensive plan and specifically the future land use map to sort of guide staff's thinking and recommendation. Those documents call for this property to be used for retail uses, but it also acknowledges that because of the depth of this property and other properties along Beltline, that other uses should be considered further back into the property, since retail uses likely aren't viable that far away from the main street. And so we think this plan does preserve the Beltline corridor for retail and provides the applicant the flexibility in the rear of the property and are in keeping with the town's planning documents. Additionally, staff believes that the proposed sports and entertainment complex is an amenity that would be consistent with the town's family-friendly brand, and would also possibly catalyze other retail development along the Beltline corridor. And so staff recommends approval. We presented this case to the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 19th. Again, they heard some slightly different requirements. The applicant has made some additional concessions since then, but they also recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Goff. So at this time, let me invite the applicant to come forward and present their case. Good evening, sir. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sorry.
Okay, Derek Salser, 345 New Hope Road, Sunnyvale, Texas. And 129 North Collins, Sunnyvale. Thanks, Charles, for that explanation of the PD. There's something different about me from the last time that I presented to you guys a few months ago, and this is the first time in 17 years I can say that I do not have a daughter in the Sunnyvale ISD. So So some of you may have watched her graduate 11 days ago. So apparently I'm one step closer to being an empty nester. So I guess I need to start thinking about downsizing to an active adult neighborhood. If we had one in the town, then I might consider that. I was 30 when we built our house, so I certainly didn't think about those kind of things way back then. One thing that's not different since the last time I presented is my personal vision that I have for my hometown. And some of you know this. My desire to develop what I call unique legacy projects that create special family-friendly destinations that fit the community culture. Live, work, play, and eat. Destination experiences, basically. I want my developments to be examples of how to do things right, projects that will stand the test of time long after I'm gone and these kids who just graduated move into my house. Developments that everyone can be proud of in their town, and a win-win-win. A win for the community, a win for the land seller, and a win for the developer. So where do I get these ideas for these special projects? At a coffee shop, of course. Some of our kids spend more time at that shop than they do at our houses. You know who you are. At the coffee shop, people like to talk, and I meet with people every day up there. You probably see me out there. I get asked a lot of questions. Where's my grocery store? When's the restaurant opening? Where's my hockey rink? Where's my favorite restaurant? Where's the natatorium swim club? I mean, all kinds of questions I get. Where's the wedding venue? And I tell everyone, one property at a time. We can't solve every need of the town with one property. But besides coffee shop talk, I get inspired from things I see other places in my travels. I read the town's comprehensive plan, which I'll talk a lot about tonight, and I talk with our EDC director, talk to you guys, talk to P&Z commissioners, town staff, and leaders. Here's an aerial photo taken 3 months ago of the center of town, basically. If you're flying over Sunnyvale, you can always locate the town by looking for the Stony Creek Horseshoe, which that's what we do when we look out the window, or that big green rectangle right there where it says site, where that's Samuel New Hope Park. That's easy to see from an airplane. The property we're talking about tonight is that white dot there at Beltline Town East. It's 60 acres across the street from Kearney's Feed Yard, from the corner stretching down past the golf course, and it stops where the 3 churches are located. And I'm not going to repeat everything Charles said because I want to let my development partners have plenty of time to talk about their ideas and introduce themselves. And I want to get to the public hearing as soon as we can so I can start answering questions. But before I do that, I want to spend some time addressing some frequently asked questions that I have received over the last few months. First one being, how long have I been working on this planned development? Well, the answer in my mind is 20 years because I drive by this property where the I in the word site up there is. That's, well, to the right of the word site is my house. So I drive by this property multiple times a day. But professionally, I've been trying to figure this property out for 5 years. The broker who lists this property, not here tonight, but she's probably zooming in. She's had it listed for over 5.5 years, and I've gotten to know her pretty well. So another question is, why a planned development? Why not just leave the property zoned retail? So this is the Town of Sunnyvale zoning map. When I started talking to the town staff, maybe it was February, somewhere around there, they heard our new vision. They suggested a planned development approach, and we agreed. As all of you know, when you have large properties, rarely does one set of zoning regulations work for all aspects of the complicated site. On this map, the aqua blue color kind of in the center of the town there, those are existing planned developments. if you live in the Homestead, Stony Creek, or Stone Canyon, you live in a planned development. That may come as a surprise to somebody. Planned developments comprise the second largest land use area in the town, believe it or not. And you can kind of see when you look at that map. So our proposed property is what the town's comprehensive plan refers to as the Beltline Road corridor, which is that dashed highlighted area there in the blow-up area. It's 380 acres of general business and local retail zoning. And I just had my team do this analysis, which maybe no one else has done, to really see what kind of land is being used in the Beltline Road corridor. 59% is vacant land currently. Business and retail uses that are actually in use now is 28%. I counted the new shopping center that Alice is building across the street as part of that 107. Church land, 11%, which is 42 acres. And there are some straggler residential properties that are still fronting Beltline Road, about 5 acres worth. So that's kind of the use of the Beltline Road corridor. So the current zoning for the property is local retail, and it's the underlying zoning for our PD. So, you know, why not build 60 acres of retail, which I get that question probably most of all from everybody. And I think there are two primary reasons why the property is not conducive for 60 acres of retail. And this is kind of a slide that shows that. The property is over 1,000 feet deep, which Charles mentioned. Most retailers and restaurants need to be visible and accessible to lots of people, not stashed 1,000 feet back from the road. Last month I explained to P&Z that the reason these corridor parcels are empty after 68 years of town history is that they're not zoned for marketable uses. They are, however, zoned for what the town hoped Beltline Road would become. So the town adopted the comprehensive plan in 2017, and the purpose of this plan is a vision of what Sunnyvale can become, and is a long-range statement of the town's public policy. The comprehensive plan addresses the Beltline corridor specifically, as Charles mentioned, and it says the corridor is not fully developed and has available land for development. Currently, there are a few businesses and churches. As retail uses develop along Beltline Road, it is important to manage the frontage and the development of rear lots. Often the frontage will develop first and leave vacant areas in the back of the lots. The town will collaborate with landowners to develop a unified approach to zoning these rear tracks so they can be designed for usability and access. The town will not zone lots, but will consider alternative zoning. So this document suggests a plan for the back areas of Beltline Road corridor properties. So we took this suggestion and developed the Gateway Park PD. And what I like about this document is it was formulated with town resident input. There were two community workshops, one in November of 2014 and one in March of 2015, which probably a lot of us in the room were at one of those. And out of the 12 town officials who developed this plan, only Saji and Mark are still serving, and the town management is completely different. But what's not completely different is the town citizens are still here who helped adopt this, and their voices continue to be heard in this little 76-page document. From my perspective as an architecture school graduate with an urban planning thesis, it's a great read, and I love this stuff. The comprehensive plan, the UDO, I've said to the previous staff and planners here before, they're not straitjackets, they're guidelines, a framework to navigate the future of the town. The UDO is a rule book, which I don't like all the time, but the comprehensive plan is a vision book. And the comprehensive plan is the Town of Sunnyvale's Christmas wish list, I guess is how I look at it. If we do everything suggested in this document, Hallmark Films will make a movie here in Sunnyvale. A Sunnyvale Christmas. I'm already working on the script for that because I've seen all of them. I shouldn't have said that. Probably off the record, I've seen all of them because I'm the only man in my house, and my wife loves them. She's happy when she watches them. But in these Hallmark movies, the developer's always the bad guy. He's cutting down trees. He's knocking down historical buildings. He wants to build a high-rise corporate resort and put all the locals out of business. We're not that kind of developer. We are locals. We live here. So these docs are revised and updated as the world around us changes. Even in the document says at 1 year intervals of periodic review of this plan and current conditions and trends will be performed. Periodic reviews will include consideration of changes and conditions that the form and basis of the plan. So our UDO has been amended 19 times in 3 years. Our U.S. Constitution has only been amended 27 times in 245 years. So I'm not aware of the comprehensive plan being amended at all or revised, but it could be. If these documents could see into the future, it would have been nice 3 years ago to read, "Dear Sunnyvale, heads up, there's a global pandemic coming that's probably going to change the retail world forever. And Amazon Prime is going to change consumer buying habits, and restaurant operations will never be the same. And be sure your developments have unique destination experiences that can't be replaced by internet shopping. P.S. Buy a generator for your house. Don't ask." Would have loved that. Okay, so here's an aerial of the 380 acre Beltline corridor. And if you look at the density to the right and left of Beltline Road, it's not a tale of two cities, it's a tale of one city and a tale of a town. Good news for our town, we still have 50% open space left. If you look to the right, it's shocking. That's Sunnyvale on the right, Mesquite on the left. It's night and day. So if you're ever worried that we've burned up all of our open space, no, we have not. This will be shocking too. So in 1971, County Mall opened. It's 50 years ago. 50 years it took 373 acres of Mesquite retail to fully develop, which I think they just built the last Michaels and Ulta. That's maybe the last building over there. And that had massive population growth during that time. I show this to illustrate why our retail corridor will never be built out with 100% retail, because there's so much retail already in place, so close to us. But maybe the most shocking calculation I've ever made in my career was to learn that Sunnyvale's Beltline corridor is larger than the Town East retail area. Let that sink in for a minute. We have 380 acres of business and retail, and the Town East retail area is only 373 acres. Now, who saw that coming? Because we don't want to be like our neighbor over there with their large-scale retail density. We're going to have to be really creative with attracting destination, unique businesses. So what we do with our Beltline retail land and how do we create unique places? We need to look at each piece of vacant land in this corridor and go through the PD process case by case, just like we did with the land we're talking about tonight, in my opinion. One of the creative uses we're proposing for our 61 acres is 38 acres of the property to the south, and it could be another 10 acres, as Charles said. This use also addresses the back area of the planned development. It's a sports and entertainment zoning overlay that would allow indoor and outdoor multi-sport complexes to be built with restaurants, offices, event space, and retail all on the same property. And more on that in a moment. Let's talk about our existing sports complex called the Town East Golf Center. It is 38 acres. And it's currently a non-conforming use. This golf course is not allowed to be in local retail zoning but it is because it's grandfathered, whatever the official term is. I don't like that term, but that's what it is. 3 years ago, I called Top Golf without permission from anybody, who's based in Dallas, as you know. Now they're owned by Callaway, but and asked if they would ever consider building a Top Golf in Sunnyvale. They immediately said they'd really be interested in Sunnyvale, and that it was definitely a priority target market. This sounded too good to be true because it was. They were thinking Sunnyvale, California. Okay. They already had a location in San Jose, which is like 2 cities over from Sunnyvale, California. So that burst my bubble. That was one of the things that did, one of the ways I was looking at this property over the years. So, you know, we think we found an incredible use to replace the golf course complex with a special, unique sports complex like nothing else in existence, which you'll hear about in a minute. Essentially replacing one sports use and upgrading to another. Both pretty much 38 acres, one-of-a-kind boutique sports complex where you will be able to go watch future college athletes, professional athletes, and future Olympic athletes. It's a place where our local kids will be able to play in leagues and tournaments, and some adult leagues for us old guys, where we will play wiffle ball, kickball, and pickleball. So with that, I want to introduce the development team we've selected for the property. One of the property owners, property operators of the proposed athletic club is my good friend Eric Warner. We've worked together for over 4 years on other things, and he'll explain his restaurant background. He's going to explain their concept and introduce you to his partner, Fran Harris, as well.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you very much. Eric Warner, 3941 Floyd Drive in Fort Worth, Texas.
Good evening, Eric.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. To kind of give you a little overview, let me see if I can operate this. Really just, I want to make sure that this is, hey, a concept and design plan, just kind of a little bit about the athletic club. We are going to consist of 2 different pillars. Pillar 1 being a sports complex, multi-sport functionality. Pillar 2 being a hospitality center, which is my love and my background. First off, this is going to be a 38 acre development, first class facility, multi-sport functionality. Our target demographics are youth, adult, collegiate, all demographics in a very family driven environment. It's going to have 4 total hardwoods, multi-sport functionality with swing down volleyball arms, a championship style court seating 600 to 800 people. We'll have 6 fully turfed fields, roughly 310, 385 to center, turf from home plate all the way to center field. It'll dual purpose as a football field, soccer fields, 7-on-7. We'll have 1 youth turfed baseball field, and then we'll have a miracle field as well. And I'll get to the miracle field in just one moment. Pillar 2 will consist of a lot of different entertainment sides. So we'll have quick concessions with food trucks, a restaurant, sports bar, retail, music and gaming. This is a family-driven environment, so we do plan to architect and draw things around that. The hospitality piece, we'll have a breakdown in that light green square on the very top. It's going to be about 16,000 square foot of covered patio, bay doors that go down and up so we can enclose it. Live music at the end. It's going to be a very large entertainment venue for people to just come and hang out and spend community time. You're already there playing sports. It'd just be another place for you to come and hang out and make it a resort, country club style feel. The dark green square will be the food and beverage component. Well, we have a little partnership with New Balance going on, so there's probably going to be a small little New Balance store inside there. We'll have full service small restaurant bar that you can eat and join at, and then it'll have a kind of just a large walk-through. If you've ever been to a large barbecue scale place, you know, walking through, order your food, going out and sitting down in the main covered patio. In that white square there, which I have some more drawings I'll show you, it's going to be the open foyer when you first walk in. On the second level, we'll have offices and suites and whatnot for the people that are working at the apartment complex, and then also to be able to host any type of VIP families, scouts, anybody coming to the games. These are conceptual drawings that we have specifically for Sunnyvale. Please understand, I understand that we've got to go through code and building and a lot of other things. These are pure conceptual, but this would just be a quick view from Beltline as you pull in currently. Remove the roof and some walls here so you can kind of see 3 sport courts. Swing down volleyball arms. We'll have 6 goals on each one of the courts, championship style court. You can see the elevated 2nd story office. You'll be able to, those will have accordion doors where you'll be able to sit and hang out up top. You'll be able to look down on the courts, private VIP access. Somebody wants to throw a birthday party, anything like that. A lot of cool things that can happen. You'll be able to see both sides of the court. As you can see on the other side, we have the covered patio, stage, food trucks out back. Just a quick view from the inside of what it could possibly look like. We removed the walls just so you can kind of see through and see the density of it. To the games, we'll have cornhole, lots of TVs, ping pong, different things like that, and then a large lounge and picnic area in the middle, band at the back, maybe an LED wall, PowerPoint, or a big projector screen, viewing all the games that are going on all the courts and or any Super Bowl or World Series event that's happening here locally. So, just a view from the stands. What we'll do is, as you can see, we'll have dugouts on the side, stands on the side as well. In the middle, we're going to leave that open. It has a 2-story building in the middle. On that 2nd story will be a bird's eye view. You'll be able to walk around 360, be able to see all the different baseball fields that'll be there at the on the property in the middle of the fourplex. We'll also have that on the other side as well, but it's really a unique view that doesn't really happen very often. I've only been to a couple places in the United States that have this, and it is a highly sought after viewing station. Just people love to be able to view from a bird's eye view. This also will double again as a scouting station. We want to be able to recruit really high profile tournaments that'll be able to come here, highlight not only the city of Sunnyvale, but also the athletic club. And we want to be a scout haven where people are telling people to come to this. You know, there's not a lot of it here in DFW. DFW is so local. The airport, it just makes it central, makes it easy for people to travel from all over the United States in a one flight, and they're driving here to Sunnyvale. The Miracle Field. So this is the big aerial view of the 38 acres. On the bottom left-hand side is the Miracle Field. This is really special to me. My son is a baseball player. He's very talented, very athletic. We went, watched a Miracle game. If you're not familiar with the Miracle Field, it's a very phenomenal. It's for low and high functioning handicapped children that don't have the opportunity to play in everyday leagues, but it's a specially designed turf where wheelchairs and walkers and things like that can they can come out and play. And it's a really, I want to be tied to a national charity, and I really love the opportunity for them to be able to go out and play baseball or kickball or whatever it is that we want to do. And it gives them a field to go out there and feel special just like every other athlete. A little bit of background about me. My family owned a restaurant in a little town called Bernie, Texas. It was no bigger than Sunnyvale. We had a little Italian restaurant at the corner of Main and San Antonio. I grew up when I was in 2nd grade. The bus would drop me off, drop everybody off at school, and then they'd swing back through and drop me off at the restaurant. And in the 2nd grade, I've been closing a restaurant down ever since. So went to UTA, started at Saltgrass Steakhouse, and that's really where I cut my teeth on management. Grew into Landry's. Landry's is a huge, probably the 2nd largest hospitality company behind Darden. I was their youngest general manager ever promoted in 2005 at 25 years old. Towards the end of my career with them, I was what's called a Landry's ambassador. I would travel around to all the different restaurant concepts that they would buy, and I'd help convert them over to the dark side, so to speak. But as I grew with them, I worked for them for about 14 years. I was painted into a box, and I wasn't allowed to kind of step outside my box. It was a money-making machine. You press the button every day at 8 o'clock, and you just keep it rolling. And I wanted, hospitality means something different to me, and I wanted more for the experience. So there's a guy named Elias that I went through all of Landry's and Saltgrass with, and we did all the same things together. He was able to secure financing, and I was kind of his right-hand man when we opened up HG Supply Co., Hero and American Airlines Center, Standard Service in a lot of different neighborhoods. and really kind of grew with them. The first 2 years I was with them, I ran the one restaurant that we had. We grew to multiple restaurants. I slid into the finance role, set up all the back end systems, handled all the financial systems, all the back of the house payroll, you name it. And then after that, once we really got to a point where we started cruising along a little bit more and we opened up more and more restaurants, I became the vice president of operations and strategy. The only reason I left them was because I wanted to pursue my own dream of the athletic club, and it just wasn't going to be something that we were going to do with 80-20, and all my eggs are in this basket, so we're all in. The company I started is Cole 323 Holdings, my parent company. The Athletic Club Association, I've already filed for the trademark. I was already approved. So we're going to move forward with a couple different locations already in the state of Texas. Hopefully this one being the first one. I think this one represents the brand the most. And I'm really excited about this opportunity to kind of grow into this new role. And I've literally spent my whole life loving sports. I never was able to play at the next level, but my passion and love remain the same. And so I really wanted to create a space that not only has sports and hospitality together, but it works at a professional level, it works at a collegiate level. It's never really been done at a youth level, but I think that this is really the perfect opportunity to really show what it means to have a really good sports concept with a hospitality background. It's not just a concession stand. It is a James Beard level food and service and drinks. And so with that, I wanted to introduce my business partner. I can't say enough about her. She's I would do her injustice by trying to explain her background. So Fran Harris, if you wouldn't mind, come up here and I'll let you kind of take it away and then I'll finish up.
Thank you, Eric.
Fran Harris, 1028 Grinnell, 75216. Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
You can read my bio and see that I'm a Longhorn, so I'll do one thing. I promise not to do any Aggie jokes if I don't have to see any horns down. Are we good with that? Everybody good with that?
Thanks and gig 'em.
I do it. Can't follow the rules. All right. So I am very excited to be here. Thank you, Eric, for being a great guy, more importantly, because it's not about who you get to hang out with at work. You get to do the work that you're really passionate about. So before I talk a little bit more about the X's and O's, if you will, of our sports facility, I want to share a little bit about why we're in this game. When Eric and I met over pizza at Campisi's, we talked about this project, but the thing that we focused on the most was that we were about transforming kids' lives. That's what I've done for 30 years. I've been in the business of sports. I grew up in Dallas, South Oak Cliff, matriculated through DISD, and even though I ended up playing basketball, my first sport was soccer. But given the triple-digit temperatures in Dallas, that fell by the wayside about week 2, and then I moved from soccer to softball. Again, the triple digits didn't work for me, and I ended up starting to play basketball. But the interesting thing is that I didn't start playing basketball until I was in the 10th grade. And so I grew up playing for the fun. I played basketball in our neighborhood just for fun. You know, there were no AAU clubs. There was no, barely were college scholarships for women at that time. And what I remember more than anything was the focus on fun. The focus absolutely was on fun. And so when Eric and I started talking about this concept, we wanted to be sure that we never lost the focus of the reason that we wanted to start this. And that was because we both grew up as kids who love to have fun. Now I spent, once I started playing basketball, I spent about 50% of my life in gyms. I spent another 30% in church, and then the other 20% at school. And then basketball in the gym became my church because you started spending a whole lot of time at the gym. And so we want this experience, that's a word that we use a lot, the experience of being at the athletic club to be a place kind of like your third home. For some of you, that's Starbucks. We want it to be the athletic club where you come, you feel comfortable leaving your kids there. You feel comfortable coming and going out of breath as an adult, getting your workout in as well. The experience is really important to us. The other thing we talked about was the secret sauce for this facility. Because I've spent a lot of my life in gyms, we've probably seen everything you can imagine in a gym, we've seen it. And so for us, we wanted a certain level of special sauce. And so I'll start talking about 5 of those really quickly, and then we can just move ahead in your programming. But one of the things after I played basketball at Texas was I got the opportunity to go into broadcasting. And I was always that kid who talked a lot. No shocker there. I was always that kid who got the opportunity when I played basketball at Texas to be interviewed by the newscasters because I always had something to say. And at some point, I wanted to do what they were doing. And I got the opportunity to get a gig with ESPN, and that was in the mid 90s. And what I realized was that I was getting into that in my mid 20s. And yet there are kids right now in your community who aspire to do that, who won't get that opportunity until they're in college. One of the things that we believe is really special about the athletic club is that we're going to have a broadcast university. So kids can get the opportunity to learn how to do play-by-play, how to do a color, regardless of sport. And that's an opportunity that is not available anywhere in the country in a facility like this. So our Broadcaster U is a huge part of it. There's also Eyeball University, which, as we know, there's a huge soar in demand of specific skill, expertise, training. But there's not a lot of focus on the other parts of the game that surround it, the IQ, the team building, the communication, those kinds of things. So Eyeball University is not sport specific. It really is about filling in some of the holes around the sport so that kids can have an entire experience around that as well. There is esports. You know, we talked a lot about athletics and skills and sports, but there are a lot of kids in this community who are not athletes. And so what happens to them? We have the opportunity to do some programming around esports so that the non-sports athletes can also have big use of the facility. And then the last thing, I think I need these glasses. I don't know why somebody didn't tell me to put my glasses on. Let's see here. The last thing we wanted to talk about was really the programming from a basketball and a hardwood standpoint. The growth of basketball and volleyball, as you all know, has been exponential over the past 5 or 10 years. And that's gotten even worse, or better, we should say, with the pandemic. You know, there was a tournament somewhere out in Texas last week. There were 173 teams that were in that, and they just started promoting it like a week before that. So there's a hunger, there's a thirst for hardwoods. My background's in basketball and volleyball, obviously, but there are obviously there are many other uses for the hardwood. We were talking to Trent earlier about martial arts, so we know that there are going to be many other things happening in the facility other than basketball and volleyball. And then the last thing I will say is our commitment. You know, I mentioned staying involved in the sports and being in the gym and that becoming my church. But our commitment more than anything is to make sure that the kids who walk through that door feel like they can and that they will. Whatever their endeavor is, whether it's sports or whether it's non-sports, that they can and that they will. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
See, I can't even begin to say her backgrounds. Kind of the roadmap. The rest of this presentation, I'm probably going to fly through. Just kind of wanted to give a quick synopsis. So there's 7 different revenue centers that currently we're going to identify, ranging from sports, food, beverage, memberships, advertising. Very, very easy, very quickly. There are many different differentiators in this program. We have a 3-year marketing plan to drive and build our brand and traffic, and we're definitely going to be a company that embraces technology. I want to touch on technology for just one moment. So on top of each one of the courts and fields, we'll have cameras that will identify where people can go. If they can't make it to the game, they can get on our website, click on a link. They'll be able to subscribe. You'll be able to watch it from your phone or your iPad or even at home. And that way you can still see what's going on. You know, people travel on business all the time. I've done it a lot. My son plays a ton of baseball games. If I had that opportunity, I absolutely would go on and subscribe. And that way you get to see what's really happening too. It's the real action, not just somebody who's trying to score it, and kind of see the digitized computer. So with all of the courts, all of the fields, they'll all be televised. They'll also play inside. So if there's inclement weather outside or it's colder, grandparents or siblings, young siblings, they'll be able to go inside and be able to watch these games inside as well. So I like to create a market survey. So some of the people that do some of the same things that we do, such as Game On, Field House, 4-0, Big League Dreams, they're very sports specific, and some of them will dabble a little bit into the hospitality or food side. But this is a club, this is a full multi-sport functionality facility, and we want to be able to, you know, like Fran said, we want every demographic in every facility, so that way we are a very welcoming and inviting community that is very, very family friendly. Lastly, creation. You know, we're going to create ton of jobs, create a ton of partnerships. We want to invest back into youth, especially in this age. Youth want to be around sports, or I feel my family wants to be around sports. And it's going to create a ton of opportunities for people to be involved in the community, have jobs, either part-time or full-time. We have a very real culture. I've worked for a lot of companies out there on the side. I've helped consult on other companies about culture. Culture's real. We're going to be very honest and open with everybody. We're going to give real feedback, and we're going to help people be better. And that's what a servant's heart really is when it comes to culture. Lastly, I think it's a very good long-term private-public partnership with the athletic club. This is something that will test I always mess this up. It's going to outlive me. It's going to outlive you. We build a facility. Youth sports is not going away. Hospitality is not going away. We're going to build a $28.5 million facility that will stand the test of time. Lastly, I'm going to fly through these. These are just some partnerships, just so you can kind of see where we're at. I always partner with local DFW attorneys. All of these attorneys have helped me with everything that we've done so far. Sports, these are all the youth league and sports that we already have partners with and talked about. They're excited about a facility to bring their tournaments and bring their leagues to this community as well. Food, I'm a big fan of Go Texan. All of these different food groups and ranches and farms and people, these are all companies that are started in Texas and they're part of Go Texan. Beverage, these are the local, I know majority of these VPs of each one of these, and they're excited to help be a part of the athletic club as well. Lance is a good friend of mine, and I've done a lot of work with Donnie Nelson as well. Both of them, Donnie Nelson's first love is country music. Don't think for 1 second it's basketball. He'll lie to you and tell you that, but it really is country music or everything Texan. He's the only general manager that wears cowboy boots and belt buckles to professional executive meetings, but they're going to help with a lot of the programming. Donnie and Lance are very excited about this project, and they can't wait to be a part of it. Habitat's a local Fort Worth branding company that we're using, and also some business partners are also investing in this project. So, thank you, and that's it. And I'll turn it back over to Derek. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Enrique. Appreciate it.
While we're on the athletic club, there are 4 questions that I've been getting over the last 2 months, and that is noise concerns over the club, light pollution, traffic, and crime. Those are the 4 things that I've been addressing and been researching. Is JD here tonight? Parks Director? No? Oh, he's online? Okay. I'll speak for him. No, I won't speak for him. Since P&Z, we have engaged a traffic engineer and conducted a traffic study of Beltline Road. Beltline Road is a 6-lane divided major arterial road, as I'm learning. It has 2 more lanes than Highway 80 has, actually, and it's designed to be a super highway to support all that retail that we just showed you that's not built yet. So we hired this traffic engineer just to determine if Beltline could handle this. What we learned from the engineer is Beltline Road is designed to accommodate 55,000 vehicles a day. That's a shocking number. And to tell you, we had to go back to pre-pandemic counts to find out what the real count is for Beltline Road. It's 24,400 a day right now. So it is 44% capacity, just to give you. Lyle and I have been talking about this too. We thought we eyeballed it, that it's got capacity. Well, now I had to spend some money. I found out, yeah, the sports complex's busiest days are on Saturdays and Sundays. Well, that's the lowest days of traffic for Beltline Road. So just for what it's worth. And then I met with some of the neighbors on Town East, and they mentioned, we talked about 190 one day maybe coming through, and Town East being extended 4-lane divided all the way from Beltline out to wherever the new highway is. So I had them do a survey of what the future of Town East Boulevard is going to look like. And 4-lane divided arterial. It's going to be designed for 36,000 cars a day on Town East Boulevard. Not that that will happen. There's only 4,000 cars a day now, according to the study. But that could be coming sometime in our future. Could I ask Chief Hawks a question or two? Chief, first question about crime, obviously. In your professional law enforcement opinion, do you think this kind of private facility will be a breeding ground for crime and a place where transient people can set up encampments?
Well, I don't have any data one way or the other on if a sports complex, how much crime it will bring versus just general retail. But my guess would be that, it's just my opinion, that with everything presented, it would probably actually help lower crime versus, say, 10 or 15 bars and restaurants there versus the sports complex and the small neighborhood. So, I mean, like I said, that's just my opinion. Anything that goes on Beltline, like you said, it's a major corridor. We're already dealing with crime and homelessness, no matter what's there. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, so secondly, I've heard comparisons to this to City of Garland's Audubon Park, the complex over there, the sports complex. It's been said that maybe it's a similar facility, which I don't agree with, but do you think there's a comparison between a public facility and a private facility as far as defensibility against crime?
Well, with your private businesses, you have the ability to regulate trespassing and who can and can't come on your property. You also have the ability to hire security, and so you have certain laws that you can enforce on private property that you cannot on public property.
Well, I know from talking to Eric and his group that a well-lit facility, fenced facility, security cameras, it will be very well, eyes will be on it. Light pollution, based on experiences that, I've talked to JD and I've talked to others who build these kinds of complexes, and the LED light technology now is such that if you want a light to shine on the edge of this podium's in light and it's dark immediately next to it. So I don't see, Raider Stadium is kind of our example that we see, and it does not have these kind of lights. So the technology would be a lot better in this facility, as well as noise as well. That rendering showed an open air building, but it's really enclosed with roll-up doors and stage where they will have live music, primarily indoors. The closest residence is 1,500 feet away, which is to the north on Town East over by Kearns. And then to the east, 1,200 feet away, is the buffer width of Samuel New Hope Park. There will occasionally, I'm sure, there will be outdoor concerts, but like Eric pointed out, they make their money by renting those fields. So if there's a concert, then there's not a field rental going on. So that's probably a very rare occasion. And if there's other questions about those things, we can talk later on. Sorry. Okay, so pocket neighborhood, the third leg of the stool of this PD. The final zoning overlay is what we call the pocket neighborhood. 55 and up age protected, small 10-acre neighborhood with upscale homes and a park-like neighborhood setting. When we built our house in Sunnyvale, this kind of neighborhood, of course, didn't cross our mind. However, now this zoning area is of great interest to me and great interest to the comprehensive plan. There were 9 goals set out that the town outlined in the comprehensive plan. And goal number 8 says, provide age-restricted residential area for ages 55 and up to provide life cycle housing choices. The plan goes on to cast a vision for age-protected neighborhoods. Right out of this plan, vision for senior living, master plan community, smaller square footage, smaller lots, age-restricted, parks and trails, quality neighborhoods. And the action strategy is promote housing choices for all stages of life, promote the senior living area concept to developers. That's in the comprehensive plan. So how much does this town want, how much of this does the town want developers to build? Well, this document also talks about that. And this is quite a large number. The plan outlines what it calls the ultimate capacity of senior living dwellings. This plan projects 500 senior housings. This is right out of the document. That's the max amount. It doesn't say that you have to build all that, just it's planned and envisioned. Our development plan is asking for 10 acres with a 50 home maximum. Okay. We have some, I was told to get some better pictures last time I was up here. I have some actual concept designs for homes in this proposed neighborhood with a hill country architecture with 90% Austin stone and complementary brick, architectural shingles and standing seam metal roofs, bike and walking trail, connection to the sports complex, pickleball court and putting green on property with a private clubhouse. As far as the clubhouse amenity would go, lounge and conversation areas, resort style pool and covered patio, indoor and outdoor kitchen, card room and craft room, library, reading room, and fitness center. So, we have selected an incredible developer partner to build this pocket neighborhood. It's Sunnyvale's own Joe Gear, managing partner at Stone Creek Real Estate Partners. Joe's traveling, but through the miracle of Zoom, we might patch him in to talk. Do you know if he's on standby? You got multiple Joes? Will the real Joe Gear please stand up? Gear?
Can you hear me, Derek?
Hey, we can hear you.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, sounds good. Guys, I apologize for you. First off, that I'm not able to be there in person, but my name is Joe Gear. I live at 226 Mallard Drive in Sunnyvale. My wife, Cindy, and I have been there for 14 years. We raised our 3 kiddos there and just thoroughly enjoyed the community, obviously, and it is home. So we definitely want to see what we believe is a very needed product and offering coming to the community. So first off, let me talk a little bit about our town. It's an ideal place. It's what drove Cindy and I to want to move to Sunnyvale in the first place, was the romantic charm, the neighborhood feel, the fact that you have we have such a community spirit and folks just really wanting to come together for a common purpose and a common good. And that's important to us. I mean, Cindy and I, she is a part of our company as well. We definitely live it and walk it and talk it. Our company is Stone Creek Real Estate Partners, as Derek just mentioned. And we started the company, I guess, 2012 was the first time we actually developed for our own product, for our own book, if you will. I started in senior living long-term care back in 1996 as a CFO for a construction company. And Randy Copland, who's actually in the audience today in my stead. So Randy's there in the back, I believe. He was actually the architect that was drawing most of what we did. Between 96 and this year we will have developed and built just over 2 million square feet of product that encompasses active adult, independent living, assisted living, memory care, and skilled nursing facilities. That's a big mouthful. In English, what that means is if you look at the Long Creek Assisted Living Memory Care project that's on the other side of the freeway, that is actually some of our partners and investors who have developed and operate that community. We were not actually a part of that one. But if you look at across our portfolio of what we've done in the past, that's probably about 65, 70% of it, I would say. What has hit us is, and this is me and Cindy personally, is, here we are empty nesters, as Derek just mentioned. He's looking at the door of that. When Peyton, my youngest, who turned 21 this past week, when he left the nest 3 years ago, we felt that impact. Well, immediately we started thinking about downsizing and what do we do? Here we've got this large home. We're on 2 acres. We're in the town that we love. We've been there 14 years. We don't want to move, not out of the town anyway. And so we've had the same thoughts about, downsizing that Derek was talking about earlier, and as well as, some of our other neighbors and stuff that we see, around town, sharing thoughts. Okay, well, what do we do? Because guys, I'm 60 years old, but our average age of the communities that we have spent, like I said a while ago, the bulk of our career building, that average age is 86. So there's a big gap for me and others that I talk to of what do we do in between. Well, I'd like to not continue to service that large home, which upstairs we never see, and we really would like to get into something like the Pocket Neighborhood and the offerings here. And yes, I would absolutely positively move into this community. So Stone Creek, we've done 2 Pocket Neighborhoods. We did one in North Richland Hills. We also did another one in Colorado Springs, which is still under construction today. But honestly, for Sunnyvale, I want something unique. I want something very, very uncharacteristic of what we've built before and designed before. I want community input. And as Derek and I were talking, discussing tonight and what the plans were for us, we have the outside edges of the envelope. We know what we want to do in general. We do not have the specific project designed and implemented, but what we would like to do is invite the community, invite some spokespeople to create a focus group and kind of design charrette, if you will. And so that's really important for us because, guys, listen, this is home, and I want to do this right. I want to be careful about the time that we take. I want to be thoughtful about the process. I want to be respectful of my neighbors' wishes, wants, and desires. And we want to make sure that anybody that has concerns, that those concerns get addressed up front. Too many times developers, ready, shoot, then they aim. And that's not who we are. I've been asked when we was first let out, I guess, that we were interested in this development. Well, what do you do when the thing goes dark? What do you do when the thing goes, when it's empty and you build a gorgeous place for people to live? Well, first off, by God's good graces, since 1996, we've never had one of our projects go dark. Have we ever had to reposition and bring a different marketing strategy and hit the market? Absolutely. But anybody who's been in business for that period of time has suffered the same thing. So I would tell you that, for us, we have the experience, we have the chops, we've got the vision, we absolutely have the team that can execute. And more importantly for me, this is home, and we're local, and we're here to deliver the best thing we possibly can. So why Sunnyvale? Hopefully I've answered that question. Why now? As everybody understands, the baby boomers, the demographic that's unbelievably, it's the pig in the pipeline. Okay, it's the one that's going to be looking for residential options. They want to see different. They have different demands than anything we've ever seen before. Well, we definitely believe that we can take and bring that here and bring it in this residential community that we're talking about here, the Pocket Neighborhood. But you guys, I'll tell you, I'm very passionate about it. I'm glad that Derek is. We have a lot of commonalities. Some of the architecture that you're looking at here on the screen is stuff that is a friend of ours who built probably about 5 or 6 million square feet of this stuff. Is is David Dillard. He's a great architect. He's somebody we would want to be bringing to bear on Sunnyvale to help us create and design this very unique product. And Derek, with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Joe. Don't hang up off on the Zoom call yet, because we'll have some questions later. Our neighboring town that starts with an M, they don't have anything like this. And why is that? Because this is a luxury, upscale, resort-like product. The way of doing active adult senior living fits the culture and quality of Sunnyvale. This is a special version of this that I think will probably be replicated across the country as the right way to do an upscale pocket neighborhood. Of course, it's pretty small, 10 acres. Most of them, as Joe tells me, are 20, 50 acres, that size, but 10 is what we have. Are you doing that? Okay. Someone is. Okay. Okay, thank you. So this is the two options of where a pocket neighborhood could go. This is the one that we like the best because it leaves room for Eric and Fran's development to the right. So upper left is 10 acres, which is right across the street from the existing homes over there on the front town east.
At least you feel important, right?
I'm just making a motion and it magically changes. So this is the second option we call the nuclear option because it's if the pocket neighborhood goes over here by the churches, something went very, very wrong with the sports complex. But that's the other option. These are a few possible layouts. The bottom left one, option B, is really the one that is we're working on now, that shows the pocket neighborhood against the park with the sports and entertainment taking the entire south end, which preserves 14 acres for the corner. So to summarize, concluding my talk, it's crucial for each of these three zoning districts to be part of the Gateway Park PD for it to function properly and to be developed. Local retail, sports and entertainment, pocket neighborhood. Just like Town Hall was the catalyst that kind of led to the Town Center Park and the two buildings next door over here, Kearney's Feed Yard inspired us to move forward with our Gateway Park PD. And I predict the Gateway Park PD, if approved, will be the catalyst that will get the ball rolling for other community-sensitive, appropriate development along the Beltline corridor. So my kids grew up riding the Kearney feed store ponies, which I'm sure, these aren't my kids, this came off the website. But, this chapter of the town's story has been over for a while, sadly. But we can start writing a new chapter for this property for generations to come with our Gateway PD. So thank you very much, and I will await questions when you summon me back.
Yeah, Eric, I'm going to open up the public comments in a second, but one question, like you to address, because this came up many times about you said this is a high quality neighborhood. Before I get people to ask the question, I'm going to ask you the question. What is the price range approximate for the houses here?
Joe,
You care to talk about it?
Are you still there, Joe? Turn Joe back on. Joe,
yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So currently, and again, I want to underline the point that we have not fully designed the product yet, but I would tell you that we're in the low 400s, potentially getting up to as high as breaking into the 500s, 525, 550, and with the thought being there's several questions that, design packages, what level of design is someone going to want? Any kind of specific amenities that are servicing their needs inside their home. So it's going to be currently, that's the range that we're looking at today.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. If you can take a seat, I'm going to open up for public comments. Let me make a couple of announcements here as a prelude to the public comments. Again, I want to welcome everyone one more time. Council, and I appreciate each one of you who are here to speak on the agenda items, whether in person or joining us via Zoom. If you are here in person to express your opinion, let me remind that you need to fill up one of these cards and turn it into a town secretary, Rachel Ramsey on my left, so that she can keep track of your name and address for the record. Once you submit the card, you have two options. One, you can turn in the completed form to express your position in writing, either it's for or against the application, and your name and opinion and address will be recorded in today's meeting minutes. Your option two, you may come forward and speak to the council. I'm going to make a request. If you're going to speak to the council, I ask that you limit your presentation time to a maximum of 3 minutes. Rachel Ramsey is going to help you and me stay on track. At the end of 2 minutes, Rachel will remind us that there is only 1 more minute left. At that time, I'm going to ask that those who are speaking to start concluding their presentation. On a couple other things, I have reviewed all the comments received by the town and included in the council package. And to me, all comments appears to be dated prior to the May 19, 2021 PNC meeting, except a couple. And I know there are new people here tonight, those who have opinions after the PNC, and that's okay. What I'm going to request is, and many of those opposing comments were about opposition to small housing lots and concerns on safety and traffic associated with the sports complex. Since the original submission, the applicant has withdrawn his request for SF4 housing, reduced the number of active adult housing or living to 10 acres at a maximum of 5 units per acre. The applicant has also talked about lighting, security, and traffic on roads and in and around the sports complex during and after its operational hours. So my request is this. If you are satisfied with the explanation of the applicant, then I'm okay if you don't necessarily repeat those exact same comments you expressed in your previous complaint or protest. But if you are not satisfied with the explanation, or you have additional comments or opinions or questions, council and I want to hear them. There may be perspectives we have not considered yet, but ought to be considered before making a decision. This goes for those who are here to speak in support or against the application. With that, I'm going to ask Rachel Ramsey to call out the names from the submitted cards. And if you're here to speak to the council, please come forward at that time. Or if you'd simply like to record your position for or against, you may announce that from your seat. Once I'm done with the folks in the chamber, then I'll ask for comments from those who are on the Zoom call. Council and I'm looking forward to good exchange of concerns, ideas, and perspectives. With that, I'm going to ask Ms. Ramsey to announce the first name. Like I said, if you would like to come forward, you may do so. If you'd like to express your position from wherever you are seated, that's fine as well. With that, Rachel.
Mayor Trent Roberts, 284 Lost Creek.
Good day, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you so much. Trent Roberts, 284 Lost Creek Drive, Sunnyvale, Texas. So I'm speaking in support of the sports complex, and what I heard today kind of reaffirms that for me. As a quick aside, I have to say, I think I have some authority to speak because my son, Shepard Roberts, is the current outgoing mayor of Thirdville at Sunnyvale Intermediate School. So this is for him. So I have 7 children of my own and currently coach or assistant coach 4 basketball teams, 1 soccer team, all made up of exclusively Sunnyvale kids. I've coached baseball a lot as well. As some of you know, despite a huge demand for youth sports and high participation levels, Sunnyvale currently has 0 sports leagues, hosts 0 youth sports tournaments, and parents travel hours each weekend to support their children in various sports. I believe that approving this project is one way to take a lot of pressure off of families like mine who have multiple kids playing competitive sports who currently drive hours each weekend. Further to this point, and specifically to address concern that I saw in some of the letters before coming here today, I just want to say that in my opinion, sports families are exactly the kind of people we want more of in this city, not fewer. We want more of them moving here, more of them spending money in this city. Families who are active in sports tend to be family-centered, educationally oriented. They have money to spend, which will be spent throughout Sunnyvale, including at potential downtown, that could be in the future or other places we see being built all around us. The sportsplex will result in economic impact far beyond the property. Just 2 weeks ago, I took my 10 Sunnyvale Raiders to a basketball tournament over in Louisville. We paid registration fees. We paid all to get in. Parents paid to get in to see the games. They bought food and drinks at the concession stand. Then we all also ate at least one meal very close by at a nearby restaurant. And that tournament was a small tournament with 30 plus teams, and all of them did that exact same thing. So that's just one way I feel like it does impact the whole community, not just people who love sports.
1 minute.
Some have raised the issue of crime. We've kind of talked about that, but from my perspective, this isn't a Dallas Cowboys game where thousands and thousands of people are coming, getting excited, causing havoc, potentially. I think it's given who's coming. These are sports participants and their immediate families for the most part. So I think it's highly unlikely that more youth sports participants results in an increase in crime in our area. The Sunnyvale Raiders Youth Sports Association, the Sunnyvale Soccer Club, and several other groups have done a great job in Sunnyvale of keeping our youth actively engaged in sports, despite a lack of opportunities to compete locally. But even practice space alone is tough nowadays. We rented space in Mesquite throughout last year, spent probably $2,000, between $1,000 and $2,000. So from my perspective, this facility should be seen as one step towards the goal of making Sunnyvale a sports-friendly city and destination, rather than a shipping point from which we send our kids over to Rockwall, Frisco, Allen, or any of the other cities that already have facilities that are big-time sports places.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Robert Canaday, 476 Boulder Lane.
Pastor Kennedy.
Good evening, Mayor, honorable council members, staff, and to both chiefs of police department and fire department. As they stated, my name is Robert Kennedy. I live at 476 Boulder Lane. We bought the property about 11 years ago. And actually it was 12. We bought the land first 12 years ago. And as we prepared to move, we lived in Mesquite. One of the things that I wanted is to make sure that I found a community. I didn't just want a neighborhood, I wanted a community. And so I looked around, I went down further 80, going east, I went north, and Saxe and looked at some other places, but I fell in love with Sunnyvale. Why did I fall in love with Sunnyvale? Because there was something unique and special about the town of Sunnyvale. And so that's why my family decided to move here. And we have not been disappointed at all. We love Sunnyvale. One of the things I always ask myself before I do anything or get involved with anything, does it add value? And the question that I had to ask myself about the Gateway Park multi-sports complex in conjunction with the athletic club, does it add value to Sunnyvale? And the question is absolutely yes, it does. One of the things that I really believe, without a doubt, is that many of these young people that will be participating in sports here at this Sunnyvale complex, many of them will fall in love with Sunnyvale They'll just not come here and participate in sports, but they will fall in love with Sunnyvale. And many of them will probably become residents of Sunnyvale and become an economic impact in the community of Sunnyvale. And I was glad also that Sunnyvale was not riddled with crime, but rather we were insulated. And certainly you cannot be in a place where there's no crime.
1 minute.
That does not exist. It does not exist. And so for us to say that it will bring crime to our community, there are many communities that probably may be larger, may be more affluent than Sunnyvale. They have crime also. But the key is controlling crime, managing crime. And Sunnyvale has done a phenomenal job in doing that. And so I stand as an advocate and a proponent for this project. And so I pray that you guys do not close the door as I take my seat. In the words of Bruno Mars, leave the door open for this project.
Thank you, Pastor Kennedy. Appreciate it. Next, Rachel.
Mike Hunter, 365 Midstream Drive.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm Mike Hunter from 365 Midstream Drive. I have a small statement I wanted to make, and then I may freestyle a little bit afterwards. After hearing Eric and Fran and a few things they said, got me a little excited from some of my past experience. In my current role as the Director of Convention Event Services for the City of Arlington, and as a 25-year professional in the hospitality and special events industry, I may have a little different perspective on the benefits of the proposed sports and entertainment complex. I don't consider the complex just a business. I consider it an attraction, a destination. That is because this type of development brings in more than just standard tax revenue from local citizens. It will bring an influx of untapped tax revenue from a much broader regional market. The broader market will have a much greater tax impact because of the families coming to the sports tournaments and will be here for the weekend. Their weekend stays translates into spending money in our current and potential local hotels. It also means multiple trips to our local restaurants and coffee shops. I feel this is exactly the type of project that other businesses are looking for from the town of Sunnyvale to help spur greater economic growth for the town and to give them a reason to decide to bring their business here. Secondly, I'll mention that I recently spoke to the head of the Arlington Sports Commission. I work for the city of Arlington, and I brought up this project, and his first reaction was excitement, because he said this is exactly what communities are looking for. He said, when I reach out to my counterparts in other cities, they have two reactions. They either say, I have one already and I love it, or I'll do anything to get one. And here we are on the cusp of the potential of getting this type of development in this small town. Okay, then I'll just mention the couple of reasons they gave for their excitement. One is that it raises all boats. That while I know Eric is talking about making money in all these restaurants and all the sports and all that stuff, but that has an impact to everyone else, to the Kearneys, to the Hope Coffee, to the new Whataburger. It helps everyone, not just this particular development. And then number two is, I'm reading my notes here. Oh, yes. Number two is because they're almost recession proof. Out of all the pandemics and the recessions that have recently happened, the first thing that came back, to Fran's point, was youth sports. And so you have this kind of development in your town. You're looking for an area that is an attraction that has potential to bring money all the time. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Brian Mays, 312 Creekwood.
Good evening, Mr. Mays.
Brian Mays, 312 Creekwood Drive in Sunnyvale, Texas. I've lived here last month for 20 years. Saji and I are some of the first neighbors. Same thing with Derek. I completely support this project. I think this is really good for the long-term future of our city. As Mr. Hunter said, we see what sports entertainment has done for Arlington. I do a lot of work in Arlington. I've seen it firsthand. It means a lot. Basically, as Mayor Williams says in Arlington, we get to spend a lot of other people's money on our roads, on our streets, on our parks, and on our police. So as I've lived here for 2 decades, you know, when I talk to my neighbors, they say same thing. We need better roads, we need parks, we need police. You got to have tax revenue to pay for that. We need new sports opportunities for kids. We want more high-end housing for our aging population, and more dining options. I can only eat at Joe's place so many times a week. So, sorry, Joe. But look, my neighborhood backs up to this project. And I knew when I moved in, as I drove downtown east, that piece of property was not going to be empty forever. What scared me was, are we going to get a pawn shop? Are we going to get a vape store? Are we going to get a Dollar General? I like this project for many reasons. One is I trust the guys that are going to be doing it. I've known Derek for a long time. I know Mr. Gear for a long time. I trust these guys. They're only going to do what's best for our city. Again, tax revenue, better roads, parks, police, everything we need. Sports opportunities for kids, high-end housing for our aging. It doesn't have a hockey rink. I can get away with that. I completely understand it. But they had me at pickleball. So, but that's it. That's all I'll say. I hope you vote yes for this. I think this is really good for our whole city, our whole town. Thank you.
I thought you were going to start with the Go Raiders. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yes, definitely.
His daughter just joined Texas Tech. Okay, thanks.
Paul Bokniak, 217 Magic Lane.
Good evening, Mr. Paul.
I recognize some of these people. Gentlemen, gentleladies, Paul Bokniak, 217 Magic Lane, Sunnyvale, for 32 years. And I just wanted to mention from 2 different aspects. One is from a resident. I am excited, and Becky's extremely excited. She couldn't be here tonight, but she wanted to make sure I pass it on. We are so excited about this project coming in. In 32 years, I think that driving range has been open for 32 years. I've hit so many balls there, I'm telling you. And I remember, and not many of you may remember, when that silver building served burgers. It was a long time ago. I want something else there, but I want it to remain sports if it can. And I love this idea. I took my grandson to hit balls for the first time a week ago. And he loved it. We loved it. Would have loved to stop, have something to eat while we were there. We couldn't do it. But this project, just to go and hang out, just for me, I mean, I had cataract surgery this morning. I'm old, but I really love watching the sports. Even if I'm not, I played it growing up, and I love going up there and watching, and I do that. So we're excited for it. And Eric and Fran's presentation, I'm with them. Whatever they want to do. I love Eric's restaurants, but the other thing, I want to focus on the other project probably even more because it's been a source of discussion. Senior living. From a resident standpoint, I love the idea. We have a safe town. We have a town that's perfectly located. We're realtors. We help people buy and sell, and we lived here 32 years in the same house. If that tells you something. We see a lot of great places, but it's a great place to be. And we have so many clients coming to us saying, we want to be in Sunnyvale, our kids are there, or we love the safety, the access to medical and all that kind of stuff. We want that, and we don't have it. And our neighbors to the M's don't have it, but our neighbors to the R do. And it's selling out. We're taking them there, and they're buying them up and snapping them up. And these are really nice homes with people buying them with disposable income, making wonderful neighbors. And so I'm as excited about that part of the project as it is taking my grandson to go watch some sports games and eat it there. So I'm on board with the whole thing.
Thank you, Mr. Bokniak.
Marcus Briggs, 205 Manhattan.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you guys doing? Ms. Free.
Well, guys, on behalf, my name is Marcus Briggs. I'm on 205 Manhattan Boulevard. I must say I've known Mr. Warner for the last 7 years. He's a stand-up guy. He knows business. He knows restaurants. I do have a catering business. I've been doing it for the last 10 years. And one of the restaurants, actually all their restaurants I have serviced, have fed to many of millions of people in Dallas. I can't say that having a sports complex would be ideal. I ditto everything Trent has said. I don't have as many kids as Trent, but I have 4. And for me to have to travel to tennis tournaments, baseball tournaments, my daughter is 8. She does travel basketball at 8 years old. I'm just like, and the money we have spent outside of our own zip code, outside of our own DFW, is it's phenomenal. You can only imagine how many people live in Sunnyvale that do the same. So to have this complex here would be, it'd be unfathomable. And also, I do want to oppose having a central market. That's not, it's close to us, a local grocery store that we can buy fresh food from and support. On that note, I do appreciate the time being here. And I want to thank those two for their brilliant mind and the brilliant project, as well as Derek. And I do want to see this come to fruition. My parents live in Sunnyvale. They love to see their grandkids. They could walk to the facility. They live in Homestead. They would love to have a walking trail to walk to go to out to eat, to actually enjoy the time of seeing their grandkids grow up and not have to travel 30 miles in traffic and then having to pay all the gate fees. They do add up. I promise, gate fees add up, tournament fees add up, and to have that tax revenue here in our own town would be ideal for us.
Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Daniel Hernandez, 421 Bandera.
Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Good evening. Danielle Hernandez, 421 Bandera Lane. I've been here for about 16 years. I could literally repeat everything that all of these gentlemen have said tonight. They brought up some great points. Just a little background. I'm an ex-15-year professional soccer player, retired for a while. So one of the only things that I am upset about is that I can't play on these fields in this facility. I do have 3 daughters, 11, 12, and 15. They all are involved with sports. I'm been involved with coaching all of them in their sports for many, many years. As I mentioned, I was an ex-pro athlete. I've seen facilities all over the world, literally all over the world. And this is definitely a state-of-the-art facility. One of the things that I brag about Sunnyvale and that I'm proud of is the youth sports model that we have here in Sunnyvale. And I think it's a great representation. This sports complex would be a great representation of what our vision and culture is all about here in this city. I'm extremely proud to be a resident here because what it gives to my kids and my family. And I think the vision and the culture that these guys have put forth, I think a facility like this would be outstanding. And again, people outside of Sunnyvale always are jealous and brag and talk about our business, our sports model here. And I think bringing a facility like this would be outstanding. Being that my kids play so many sports, I'm a single dad. I'm traveling all over DFW, even East Texas, other facilities that are nowhere near this facility. Again, one of the luxuries that I have of living here, of this tight-knit community that we have in Sunnyvale, is everything is so close and convenient. Having a facility like this would be outstanding for our community. So I hope that you vote yes for it. I'm fully supportive of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you, sir.
William Kearney, 105B Town East Boulevard.
Good evening, Mr. Carney.
Council, staff. So I'm not against the whole thing, but there are definitely things that bring big concern. So as y'all know, I've a lot of people know I've been here for 41 years. Those ponies, Charlie Brown, Trigger, Jack Black, Lily, those ones in the picture, I raised them. They died on our property. You know, it's I probably brought a lot of smiles to a lot of the people back here, to their kids. But this is a town too, and gentleman earlier misspoke a few times saying City of Sunnyvale, and this is not Deep Ellum. I don't see why we need for a 70-foot tall building, 7-story building. I don't even know if our fire department, I don't think we even have a ladder truck to handle something like that.
Did you say 7-story?
Yeah, 70 feet. So what? Not for the building height to change.
What's the height of the
60
building?
feet, 60 feet within 350 feet of the roadway, and beyond 350 feet, 70 foot. So then, you know, and there's 2 hotels down at Highway 80 that have changed. One's changed name twice, one's changed name 3 times. So I'm not sure we have a big enough attraction to maintain something like that. So that does bring the possibility of more crime. If they're struggling, renting out rooms a lot cheaper. If it stays upscale and everything, that'd be great. The concern with the noise, I don't see why that needs a PA system throughout this complex. Live music's great, family atmosphere great. Midnight on Saturday nights and possibly Sunday night to midnight.
1 minute.
That's a long. Crime, you got people sitting there, outdoor venue, you got 800 people seating inside, 100 people look like kind of under the patio. You could have about 1,000 people leaving at once. Maybe those people have been drinking, listening to music. So that's a crime. So that increases crime, but you don't really notice it until somebody has a wreck or somebody gets killed. On Sunday, I had to listen to music till well after dark. Then I had to go run an errand. I had to stop in the road, pick up a beer bottle out of the road that was scattered across 2 lanes. It's going to be a lot more of that stuff through there. I like the complex. I've got kids that play sports. The time for the noise, the late, that going that late, that's going to be a problem. They got a big complex to pay for. They're going to make a lot of money off partying and drinking from concerts, and I don't think people realize how much of that is going to be an issue.
Time.
More of it. So thank y'all for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Kearney.
That's all the cards that I have. There are people online, but nobody's hands raised yet.
Okay. So let me ask you before I close this here. Would anyone else like to come forward and speak to the council at this time from the chamber? No one else is coming forward from the chamber. Erica, anyone raising their hand?
No hands raised.
If you're joining us via Zoom, this is the time for public comments. If you'd like to make a comment, you may raise your hand so that we can call your name.
We do have one hand raised. Joe online, if you will state your name and address for the record.
Joe Turner, 298 Creekwood, Sunnyvale, Texas.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me a chance to speak. I want to vote in favor of, I would like to see this complex. I think it's added a lot to our community. Some concerns I have is some parking concerns and some of the subletting of the apartments, the housing. I'm strongly in favor of it. I think our community would definitely be raised to the next level by having this in our city, in our town. And I really would like to, for the council to consider a positive vote for this. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else joining us via Zoom? If you'd like to join us and speak to the council, you may raise your hand. If you're joining us via phone, you may press *9.
No more hands raised.
Okay, no more hands raised, so I'm going to close the public comments at this time. Council, I'm going to open up for your discussion. Eric, can you talk about the height of the building for me a second? Or maybe Charles can talk, or one of you can talk.
So the height requirement is 70 feet when you're further away than 350 feet from Town East or Beltline.
That's the requirement, the current
Yes,
requirement
yes.
in that area?
So theoretically, buildings could be up to that height.
Is that a change they're requesting, or that's the current local retail?
That's a change they're requesting.
How many stories is that?
It depends on the floor height of each floor of the building, but you're probably talking a 4 to 5 story building.
Okay. Yes, sir.
That height was put in there to allow for a hotel, maybe a 4-story hotel. And it was higher than that. That's reduced. It was like 85 feet at the P&Z meeting, and then it went down to 70. May not need that height, but we just put it in there to give us that option. Of course, if we can't feasibly do it, if the fire trucks can't serve it, then it won't be that high. And we don't have a hotel operator on board at this time or developer.
Okay. 4-story, would that be closer to the neighborhood, like Sun Streets or Homestead? Do we know the location at all, or we don't know at this time?
It would be to the north of the athletic complex, between Town East and, or put it in terms of today, it'd be just to the north of the driving range today in the retail, local retail section of the zoning, not where the houses are, but where the start of the local retail. We anticipate if there is a hotel, it would be close to the sports complex.
Charles, think later during this meeting, just think about privacy and people living in Homestead, that type of thing. But we can talk through that. Thanks, Eric. Okay, Council, I'm going to open up for your comments or discussions. If you have questions or comments, you may ask that. You can ask the staff, or you can ask Eric to come forward. Mr. Freeman?
Yeah. In listening to someone's presentation, I heard the word apartment complex. Did I miss something? Did I miss something? Okay. So at no point, because I think we all kind of. Okay, go ahead.
I had the same comment during one of the presentations. Yeah, I know Eric is the one who mentioned it, but I just want to.
No, there's absolutely no multifamily anywhere in the PD at all.
Didn't think so, but just want to get that.
Neither did I, but I heard it. So I was like, when you live here long enough, you hear. When you hear apartment complex, your ears perk up around here. The only other thing is, I would also like, you said be available till midnight on Friday and Saturday nights for the sport complex. Is that negotiable? I mean, is that something that, that's just kind of how they run? It seems to me for, midnight is kind of late for a.
Get Eric.
Awesome. Thank you.
So essentially, in a standardized sporting events, there's really no games that'll be probably scheduled past 8 or even 9 o'clock at night. The reason we put that there is sometimes there are delays, there are rain delays, going to extra innings, just things happen, so the intention would never to be, I mean, we're probably going to close at 10 o'clock, all the food and beverage down at 10 o'clock. I mean, it's a community driven experience. It's going to open up at 7 a.m. I'm not looking to serve till midnight. From a music standpoint, we want to have a couple sets, from 11 to 2, 3 to 6, maybe occasionally from 7 to 9, but this isn't a live music venue. It's just an amenity to the people that are already there spending time. So the reason it's midnight on those nights is solely for if it happens to run long, that it just, we might be playing at that time, but it would never be the intention to schedule anything that way. Thank you.
Additional questions or discussions? Mr. Egan?
As the father of two dads who played a lot of sports, my oldest daughter played AAU and was invited to a couple of invitationals up at the women's basketball invitational that happens up in Plainview every year. It's a pretty big deal. And the other daughter who at one point in her career, after reaching up to level 5 in Texas gymnastics, she actually competed against Nastasia Lukin, the girl who won all the Olympic medals at the Olympics last time around. I don't see any gymnastics thoughts, and I know this is very, 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 very preliminary, and I only see 6 basketball courts. I think we can have some, and as I commented at one time to this council, that I would love to see a racetrack there, because I'm not a baseball guy, I'm not a football guy, I'm not a soccer guy, but Indianapolis 500 is my Super Bowl. So my question, or maybe comment, is at this point, I would love to see some expansion if there was possible. I know we've had a gymnastics place just down the road. There's actually 4 or 5 in the area. But if you've ever been to a gymnastics meet, it is from 7 o'clock in the morning till sometimes midnight. And it's a gymnasium full of people. And that's just for the girls. I don't know what the guys do, but I know what happens on the girls' side. So just a comment to maybe think about, I would love for Sunnyvale to become the basketball invitational town to come to, as opposed to Plainview. It's going to be a big challenge, but this town's good at taking care of big challenges. So just my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. The additional comments or discussion? Mr. Finch?
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't hear from our own Parks Director, JD. I think he has some experience in this. So, JD, if you're online, if you could just give us your opinion, speak to this a little bit for us, please.
Yes, sir. My name is John Douthit. I live at 8510 Larry Court in Greenville, Texas. I'm the current Parks Director for the Town of Sunnyvale. I have 25 years of experience of running a municipal facility just like what we're proposing tonight. Some of the things that I've heard are concerns that are everywhere that you go, that are usually put to rest once the facility is completed and open for operation. For example, the facility is going to have, I'm sure, is going to be locked up at night after it closes, which you won't get the people attempting to sleep in the facility overnight. The last municipality I worked for, we had a very large athletic complex. The entire thing was behind lock and key. We locked it up after the tournament was over. We never had that issue. I do agree with some of the things that they said, that you're always going to have minor crime no matter what you do. If you build a Walmart, you're going to have minor crime, but you're not going to be able to raise kids to stay away from crime at a Walmart like you can at a sports complex. The lighting situation, in 2018, we retrofitted all of our metal halo lights to LED, and the LED lights, for lack of a better word, they're just magic. They're directional. We had to add lights in order to light our bullpen areas, our warm-up areas around the ball fields that we retrofitted, because we were so used to the spillage of the metal halo lights that we weren't expecting the LED lights to do the job that they did. So even though you're probably going to be able to see lights, just like you see street lights or just like you see traffic lights, you're not going to have a glare into your home like some people are concerned about. The revenue that you could generate with a facility like this, now we didn't have the restaurant component that these gentlemen are talking about. we had the Dr. Pepper Star Center, 12 soccer fields, and 9 baseball fields. And we played every weekend except for Easter, Christmas, and New Year's. And the revenue that we could generate basically took care of the facility and helped promote programs that maybe didn't cover themselves through scholarship. So we were able to reach out to other children that might not have the opportunity or the funds to participate. And the main word that that the lady used that I'm always looking for when I discuss these kind of complexes is experience. What kind of experience are we going to give the kids when they walk away from the facility, win or lose? Are they going to have a great experience? And it sounds like the answer to that question is yes. Are there any specific questions I can answer?
Danny, thank you. I just wanted to get your opinion. I know you had some experience with this, so I appreciate you sharing your opinion on this.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. Derek, I have a question about the potential hotel there. Is that something that you will bring back to this council? It's the first time I've heard that term mentioned.
Well, what we're contemplate tonight is just approving the framework of this PD. There's no projects being approved tonight. Even the sports complex has got to come through the development process with development plan, site plan, all P&Z council. Every single project that goes on that 60 acres is going to have to come back here in front of you guys. So the zoning, the local retail zoning does provide the ability to build a hotel. So that's an option. I've been to some of these complexes across the country. I know Eric's been to hundreds of them. There's hotels around them. Whether they're adjacent to them or down the street, somewhere a hotel is going to develop around Sunnyvale if it's not going to be in Sunnyvale. Perhaps it'll be on this property. But I don't have a group to answer your question, I don't have a group that we've talked to.
Okay, thanks. I think that's the only question I have for you. Yeah, I think it's the only question I have for you.
Erica, are you open to the idea of less height?
Yeah.
I just don't know the 4-story again.
Well, let me give you a perspective. Next door, Park Square, that office building, 45 feet high. So it's only 25 feet shy of what we're talking about. Just to give you perspective. I mean, 70 feet sounds like, 90 feet or 100 feet is how tall the Lineage building is, right? 110, okay, so it's, you kind of get a perspective. And I've developed several hotels, Hilton products and Holiday Inn products, etc. And generally a 3-story version of that is less than 50 feet high. If you went to a 4th floor, or if you had a taller 1st floor with conference facilities, then you're getting into, I just didn't want to hamstring us with 62 feet 6 inches, and that was a comfortable number, 70.
Good. Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions I have for you.
I can respect that. I just want to respect neighbors like you who live right behind that, potentially right. That's really where I'm going with this one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. This is nearly half a mile from the nearest, 2,000 plus feet from the nearest house that you're talking about in Homestead. You don't have a sight line. You're not going to be able to see into somebody's yard, right? And we can do if doing a visibility sightline study is part of what you'd like us to include in our planning, we can do that.
What do you think, Charles?
So I agree with Derek that by my calculation, it's about 1,300 feet from the edge of this property line across the Samuel New Hope to Homestead. I think with the density of the trees there and just the distance, I don't see any privacy issues with the 70-foot tall building. And I think, frankly, if there is some concern about the quality of a hotel and its durability over time, I think the taller building you have, I think that just inherently means quality. It's going to be interior loaded as opposed to having exterior corridors. If you're talking about a hotel that size, there probably will be some conference facilities, and that all speaks to a higher quality product and a more durable product than a shorter, maybe 2-story hotel that is not full service.
Okay, thanks.
And one quick clarification. I talked to Eric about having a hotel next to it, and the building would be oriented east-west so that the rooms would look out over the sports complex. So it wouldn't be where the rooms are looking towards Samuel New Hope Park. They would be looking to the north and to the south.
Okay.
Well, probably.
Okay, understood that. I respect my staff. So, Susan.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add, just when you're contemplating this development, is the optimal thing is when they're coming for a tournament to keep them in town versus going to an adjacent community to get a hotel, because then they're spending their shopping dollars and their dining dollars in that other community. So that's the optimal.
Understood. Yeah, Derek, I think you understood my point. Okay, Mr. Finch.
Charles, just to clarify, if we approve the PD as presented, is a hotel by right?
No, so it requires a special use designation. So it would come back to P&Z and council for consideration. You'd be able to look at the specifics of the hotel that's being proposed and make a decision based on that. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor.
Shadow?
Thank you, sir. I want to go back to the sports complex. I've got 4 kids. 2 of them played college sports, so I'm really familiar with the money that's driven in college sports. They did not go to UT. I'm sorry. They went to A&M, 2 of them. And I got you. In 1986, I coached one of the first 2 16 and under AAU teams in this town. One of them had Amy, and I cannot remember her last name. She did play at Texas, probably on your team as well. I'm really familiar with club sports, what's driven club sports. To think that there was only 2 in 1986, 87, 88, 9, and now there's 20 or 30 or 40 in the Dallas area. It just still continues to blow my mind. So I'm absolutely supportive of the sports projects. Money driven, as Pat Henry says at A&M, if it's good for football, it's good for everybody else. So that's kind of how the sports goes. And I appreciate your perspective, Fran, and your background and your sharing. It was a great presentation that you put on, and I appreciate your expertise there. I also want to say that Joe Gear and I grew up together. I respect him as a person. I respect him as an individual. I have confidence that he will not build something in our town that we would be disappointed in. I've gotten to know Derek over the last few years, and I think, let me just say, everybody speaks pretty highly of Derek. So I'll jump in there as well. And I want to address some comments that were made through P&Z, because not everybody's comments were as positive as the ones tonight. Very diligently, myself and several others met with Derek to address some of those concerns. And I want to say that Derek answered all of our concerns. It wasn't a big give and take. He just said, I'll do that. I'll put the cars in the back. I'll put the gated security. I'll put the lights. The things that we addressed, he was very quick to answer in a positive manner, to answer the concerns of the people that had some concerns at the P&Z meeting. It was not anywhere in the same presentation as what we've seen tonight. So Derek, I appreciate you answering those questions and being responsive to our town. I actually wanted to make a comment about the academic possibilities of this complex. However, I want to go back to what Fran said, that the broadcast U is really intriguing. Our superintendent here has considered trying to find a way to put a broadcast for SportsGram and to teach our kids in our school the broadcast opportunities. And we don't have that. KEOM has that in Mesquite, but I think it's something that could be really expounded on, at least from an academic standpoint. So I think there's a lot of potential, and I hope you do follow through with that. I'm excited about the sports complex. I think everybody should probably in the back of their mind say they're worried about the senior housing complex, but on the other hand, so many people I've talked to said, I'm in, that it gives me great confidence that for 50 homes, we can find out in Sunnyvale if this is a good deal for our town or not. So in short, I'm supportive of this project, and I think you guys have done a great job. I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing goes in the future. Thank you all for your presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Mr. Egan?
I just have one real quick final comment. I would be disowned by my two daughters if I didn't say something about my two granddaughters, as well as my grandson, who all also live in Sunnyvale. That this is not just the future for the granddaughters, it's the future for my grands, and I'm sure there'll probably be one or two more that'll be coming along the way. So thank you. I think this is something that the town will benefit as a community, and will continue to bond the community that I've seen grow in the 40 plus years that we lived here. In fact, my daughters were born and raised here. So this has been our community, and I'm very concerned about how this community grows and does it in the right manner. And this is one of those right manners. And it's the reason why I got involved with community service to begin with 15 some odd years ago. Thank you. And we really look forward to the next steps being made.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Mr. Freeman?
Yeah, and I want to just have a quick comment. Lived here for a very long time, and that place has been empty, and it's been the golf course for a very long time. By the way, not a golf course that's readily playable. It's a goat track. So, but I will tell you this. This is probably the best idea I've seen for this piece of land. I'm Eric Fran. I've always found that when people are passionate about things, they work. You guys, the passion that you're bringing to this project, it's going to work. The last thing I'll say about this is that, whenever these developments come, there's always kind of this thought, well, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that, but I wouldn't do it in my backyard. Mr. Salser is literally putting this complex in his backyard. So whenever you think about that component of this, I mean, if someone's willing to put something like this together and willing to put it directly in their backyard, then they have faith in the project as well. So I'm fully supportive of this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Council, are there additional questions or comments? Staff, do you have any other comments? Okay, there are no other comments or discussions. I call for a motion.
Motion to approve item as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Freeman to approve item number 7 as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Allen. Everyone heard the motion? All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Mr. Clark is absent. I just want to thank Derek, Fran, Eric, and also Joe Gear for bringing this project forward. We appreciate. Thanks for working with the council and the staff. I also want to recognize Charles. I know you had some personal situation, but still you made time to come here. I appreciate it, Charles. Have a safe flight tomorrow morning. And thanks to everybody who came and gave a perspective. We value it. Citizens' input is important. We get it right when citizens speak. So thank you very much for everybody who came together. All right, let's take
Could I make a
Yes,
real
sir.
quick comment relative to this? There were some words said at the P&Z meeting relative to this development that was really a slam in the face to this council, that I will not identify the individual, but it was said that the reason why we need something like this is because we couldn't afford to rebuild the bridge on Barnes Bridge. This has nothing to do with that. And in fact, this council and staff have worked damn hard to get that bridge built at a decent price. It's a $3 million plus bridge, and we're getting it for $90,000. It has nothing to do with our ability to raise the money that needs to be raised. And I just wanted to make that point clear. I tried to get in touch with the individual and clear it up, but that individual didn't respond. So I probably could have tried harder myself, but I think it's clearly important that that when rumors like that start, that they be clarified. And that's nothing but a rumor. We have the ability, the bridge will be rebuilt, the contracts have been signed, we're going to move forward with it. And we did so at a price that saves the taxpayers money.
Council, now 9:14, let's take a recess, like 15 minutes recess. Let's get back together at 9:30. Thanks. Time is 9:28. All right, now time 9:28. We are going to reconvene to the regular session. Moving on to item number 8. Thank you. Discuss, consider, and act upon Resolution 21-24A, approving a professional services agreement with MHS Planning and Design LLC in an amount not to exceed $40,650 for conceptual planning and design services related to recreational or community facilities at Samuel Farm North and New Hope, Jobson, and Barnesbridge Parks.
I've got that, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Guthrie.
Yes, sir. As you know, in the council's 21-22 strategic plan, you all asked us to go ahead and do sub-plans to our master plan on these particular park locations. On the basis of that, we did reach out to ask MHS Planning and Design, who is the author of our Parks Master Plan, if they would continue on with us and use the public involvement they've already started and build upon that and do these plans. We received a quote for the amount of $40,650. This has been approved by 4B, and staff does recommend approval.
Thank you, Susan. You guys have any comments, council? We're good? No comments? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Can you open public comments?
Oh, yeah. There's no open. Let's open this up to public hearing now. If anybody has anything they'd like to say. Any comments online? No hands raised. Council, one more time, any questions? Close for the public comments then, and I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Eldridge, second by Councilman Finch. Mayor Saji's back at the dais with us. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0, and Councilman Clark is absent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. Moving on to number item, discuss, consider, and the proposed budget presentation with the focus on the special revenue, homestead amenities, and PG funds. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This evening, in accordance with the town charter and the laws of the state of Texas governing home rules, I have the hardest time with this microphone. And the laws of the state of Texas governing home rule cities, the staff tonight presents the 2021-2022 proposed budget with focus this evening on the homestead amenities, special revenue, and PEG funds. Other funds will be presented at subsequent council meetings.
Phil's gonna get a little bit closer to the mic, or this,
Okay,
if you can.
I can.
Too much feedback, okay.
Yeah.
All right, my bad.
Okay.
The reason is if anyone else is listening to, I just want to make sure they'll be able to hear it.
Okay, is this better?
Much better.
Okay. Erica, if you'll go to the next page. First page of the presentation here, we included a budget schedule for council's review so you can see where we're at right now. Today's date, we'll be going over the homestead amenities, the special revenue, and the PEG funds. And that kind of outlines upcoming meetings and what we'll be presenting at those meetings. The first fund is going to be the Homestead Amenities Fund. That was established under Ordinance 464 to provide contributions in lieu of amenities. The only items we have budgeted for 2021-2022 is revenues of interest earned, $2,400, and capital projects for Tripp and Jobson Roads of $283,964. And we project an ending fund balance next year in the homestead amenities account to be at $0. The next fund is going to be our special revenue fund. These are funds that the town collects that are restricted, have restricted use. These include funds that we have received for the CARES Act, funds that we anticipate receiving for the American Rescue Plan. It also includes those fees that we collect through court citations for court technology and court security, as well as donations that we receive for animal control, for the library, and for special events.
Phyllis, can you go back to the previous chart for me a second? It looks different than the previous chart. The homestead. Okay, so the balance is going to be 0?
Yes, sir.
Looks different than the chart we have in our package.
It does, sir. I actually asked for some changes on this because I had shared the news with you about the COG grants. There's some funds here that could be used to assist with that project. So we went ahead and plugged them in just to make sure that we can get it to the finish line. So
And we confirmed that this is trip and option B.
yes, sir.
Okay.
I had Charles pull that PD and go back and look at their specific projects listed that are allowable, and that is one of them.
Thank you, Ms. Phyllis. Thank you,
Okay.
Susan.
All right, on the special revenues. So this is a fund too that, you know, it's ever changing. It's hard to budget for donations. We don't know what we will receive. The American Rescue money we've yet to receive. So typically what we've done, or historically what we've done, is we've set a dollar amount that we anticipate mainly to collect based on those court citations, the fees that we draw from the court citations, and then we anticipate spending that same dollar amount. And this fund, like we did last year, we will probably true up these numbers, the budgeted numbers, at the end of the fiscal year.
So the item number 97, technology fee, court security fees, would that roll into one of the general funds, or would that be specifically used for court-related expenses?
They stay in the special revenue fund. Those balances, if they're not spent, they just continue to increase. They roll from year to year.
Okay.
But because they are restricted, yes,
Okay.
we keep them isolated.
They don't have to be swept. They can stay and roll forward. This one too, I just want to, Phyllis touched on it, but I just want to, the American Rescue Plan, right now we have that budgeted at 0. But, and, you know, we talked about that a lot in our budget retreat about expecting funds to come in before the end of the fiscal year, which would then give us a balance. So as we learn more and we receive those funds, you remember that in this process, every time we come back to you, we kind of go reflect back on any changes you've asked for. So we're building upon this budget each meeting. So if we get news on that, we will be amending this and bringing you something revised back. But this is where we stand until we get further news on that.
Okay. All right. So maybe small amount like municipal building security and all. I did not know that can be used for police officers or not.
Normally you use it for things like the what we did with the glass up
Right.
front, or metal detectors.
Okay.
I think we have looked at it for the actual bailiff in the courtroom. So we'll continue to explore those options. But right now, because we did that major project last year, the balance is pretty low.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. The next fund will be our PEG fund. This is a revenue or a fund that consists of only interest income due to a resolution that the town passed in 2017 to cease collection of this franchise fee. These are our fees that we were collecting. The PEG fund is the Public Educational and Government Access Fund, and the town does not currently have an access channel that we can use these funds for. So the resolution was to cease collecting the funds. So the only revenues that we have that we show budgeted for next year would just be the interest that we're earning on the current fund balance. We are looking into exploring maybe some possible partnerships with some other entities to see or to determine if there is another way we can use these funds. But the projected fund balance for this account for the end of 2022 would be $70,583. And the only other information that we included for these funds are going to be, and they should be included in your packet, is the Encode detail for just additional detail information.
So Phyllis, I'm assuming this is more of a, you're going to every month, every council meeting, you'll follow through the next phase of your budget calendar.
Yes, sir, that's correct. On that budget schedule that was at the beginning of the presentation here, you'll see that on the June 28th meeting, we'll be going over the impact funds, the general fund, economic development, and also the utility fund.
Again, like I said to you earlier, I love this format, high level, hit the high points, then give the details. Somebody wants to look at it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Susan, I'm assuming there are no actions to be taken at this time. It's all going to be rolled into the final budget approval cycle.
That's correct. Only if you have any suggested changes, and then we'll keep bringing them back. But I really do want to make sure for people who are watching the meeting that you do pay attention to that schedule, because our anticipation is that people use all those opportunities if they have feedback.
Okay.
And then, you know, at the end, we'll vote.
Should I take public comments just because this is an ongoing process?
Certainly.
Okay. So since this is an ongoing process, we have many steps in the budget cycle. I want to open up for public comments. If there's anyone from the members of the audience would like to come forward and speak to the council, you may do so at this time. If you are joining us via Zoom, you may raise your hand. No one is coming forward from the members from the chamber. Erica, anyone raising their hand?
No hands raised.
No hands raised, so I'm going to close the public comments. Councilors Phyllis and Susan said, we'll continue reviewing the next set of numbers and plans and as per the budget cycle. Okay, with that, we are moving on to item number 10, Mayor and Council requests for future staff updates and agenda items. Council?
Mayor, I have one. Can we get an update on Collins Road construction? Don't have to do it tonight. I'm getting a lot of comments on that. I'm just curious. I know it's just upgraded, but I was just kind of curious about the timeline.
Okay, can y'all hear me okay? I mean, where we're currently at, as y'all know, of course, over the last month and a half, we've gotten excessive rain and it's slowed us down. We have moved out of that, and I hope that we continue with dry weather for a while. The immediate thing right now is to finish the final preparation of the sub base for the future southbound lanes, and that's what they're trying to get back into. They have to repair what got messed up due to the rain. Then the next step is to get the subgrade stabilization, the lime and cement, so that we have a good solid base, and then we'll start moving into paving. One of the critical items on that is the fact that when we do that, there's inevitably going to have to be some time where the driveway entrances to Town Hall and the other businesses that front onto that side of Collins, there's going to have to be a temporary shutdown. There's just no way to pave the road without doing that. So that's going to be scheduled appropriately when we get a little bit further and closer to that date. We'll schedule it at such a time to keep any disruption to Town Hall and businesses to the absolute minimum we possibly can. But the main thing is now we're moving into the summer. Hopefully the rain will ease up and let us get out there and stay out there and work.
Thank you, Lyle. Are there additional items?
Mayor.
For future update? Yes, Mr. Egan.
Lyle, if you were to guess, and I know it's purely a swag, are you thinking 8 weeks, 12 weeks?
For the paving, you mean, or?
To get it to a point that we're not driving over mud as we go into driveways and the southbound's pretty much done.
Assuming the weather is kind, I do not think it'll be that long. I think 6 to 8 weeks is probably realistic. That having been said, again,
yeah, it's a swag.
We're at the mercy of the weather, unfortunately.
Totally understand it's a swag. What I think would be kind of nice to know is, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, again, don't get into too much discussions. Okay, all right. If there are no other items for future staff updates, item number 11, can I have a motion to recess into executive session pursuant to Chapter 551, Section 551.087, Economic Development, to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to business prospect project Panther.
Motion to adjourn into executive session.
Motion made by Mr. Allen to adjourn to executive session. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Eldridge. All in favor signify. Mr. Finch, are you in support or not? Okay, motion passed 6-0. Now time is 9:43 and we are in executive session. Members of the audience, I fully anticipate there'll be some decisions, even though I'm not 100% sure. So you're welcome to stay back and converse among yourself. Thank you very much for recording us. The time is 10:04. We are back in regular session. Council, do you have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 21-26A and to also authorize the town manager to execute the contract and make any minor changes necessary.
Okay, motion made by Freeman to approve resolution 21-26A and authorize the town manager to execute the contract, including minor administrative changes to the contract. Second by Mr. Finch. All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed. Mr. Clark is absent again. Council, do you have another motion?
Yes, I'd also like to make a motion to pass resolution number 21-28 and also authorize the town manager to execute the contract and make any minor changes necessary.
Motion made by Mr. Freeman to approve resolution 21-28 and authorize the town manager to execute the contract with the minor changes, and motion seconded by Mr. Finch. Everyone heard the motion? Other additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed 6-0. Mr. Clark is absent.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I didn't call for the motion. Motion made by Mr. Freeman, second by Finch to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify. All opposed, motion passed. Now time is 10:06 and the meeting is adjourned. I want to thank staff and the applicant and the council for working with us. Appreciate it. Good night.